Hello everybody and welcome to the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Next Gen Series. It's round 4 here live from North Wilkesboro. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. Good to have you along for the 4th round of this championship as we visit the shortest circuit on this calendar so far, and indeed the shortest one right until we get to the very end of the season. We've had good variety so far, starting our season a few weeks ago in Phoenix before being followed by New Hampshire and then Nashville, but this is going to be a very different affair indeed. North Wilkesboro, which has only recently brought back into NASCAR circles once again. Last year we held the NASCAR All-Star race here, and it's back on Cup Series schedules in iRacing as well. Hello everybody, welcome to RaceSpotTV. Myself, Ewan O'Leary and Darragh Thacker here for this round of the championship. Good to be here, Darragh. That's the first thing you mentioned to me as we loaded in this afternoon. It's a very, very short circuit round here in what's a very varied calendar, even either side of this event at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, very technical here at Wilkesboro. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers do adapt. Nashville and Homestead, either side, kind of giving you that little bit of contrast in the calendar. And then, of course, with Indianapolis further on, we do kind of see how we move in that regard between, you know, some of the super speedways and some of these smaller ovals, which is great to see. And hopefully we'll get some good racing action here this evening.
Yeah, you can tell we're not too far from playoffs time in the real world, can't you? We're seeing super speedways again. Daytona will come a little bit later on. That's at the start of August, but as you say, plenty of variety to look into. And as I mentioned, Bristol, the only circuit shorter than this one on this calendar. It comes at the very end after a few more longer ones, I think it's fair to say, in the next few weeks. This is how we line up in these current championship standings, and it's Randy Shoemaker who is leading at the moment. He is trying to, as everybody is, trying to break the streak of Mike Grandy's 5 in a row here in the Cup Series, and at the moment Shoemaker has the advantage over John Hay, Russadi, Craig Vaught. They're all very close together. Rick Helms and Douglas Beasley as well. Gene Moore 7th with 56 points, just 1 point ahead of Thomas Byram, with David Traynor in 9th place. Robert Wood and Wooly Moresby are tied on 50 points in 10th, and then Jerry Kerr rounding out the top 12 there in the points standings. Don't fear though, Mike Grandy is still about and he's still competing well in this series at the moment. In this in the practice session we've just completed, and the qualifying session as well, he is running quite well. A 19.7 from him has got him the current best time in qualifying, which is about 2.5 minutes away from its conclusion. And in a stark contrast to practice actually here, Darragh, Randy Shoemaker's all the way down in 9th place. He was right up there with Grandy, setting the pace in that practice session we had for about 20 minutes preceding this qualifying session. It's a very big difference to where he is now and the traffic he's going to be in when we start this race.
Yeah, it's going to be important for him to get through early if he can't improve on his lap time. But even that, currently the provisional pole time that we've got from Mike Grandy, 400th quicker than Roger Shank. That's bigger than the gap between 2nd and 5th, where Jerry Kerr is. So it's a very nice lead for Mike Grandy to have in that regard. But of course, we're talking, you know, half of a blink of an eye. So it's going to be very difficult to really see that, you know, play out over the course of what is, I believe, a 100-lap race.
Certainly is. As we were talking a little bit earlier on, though, it could well be fraught by cautions. I saw that in practice. There were 1 or 2 incidents. However, we saw when we were last broadcasting this series towards the end of last season, it was a lot of fun, and it was very clean and green. So maybe we can see something similar even to that here today. Just over a minute left in qualifying. I can inform you that nobody's got a lap left, but because people are still driving about, we will have to wait the extra minute here to get this race underway. Qualifying, as I'd imagine, very close in terms of times. The top 5 covered by just 1/10 of a second. But very interesting to note that neither of those who will be starting on the front row here are in the top 10 of the championship standings. I know it's very early with only 3 rounds gone, but that is something worth noting, and especially with Mike Grandy being there. He is the champion of the last 5 series that we've had in the Cup Series, and the fact that he's nowhere to be seen at the moment is a slight concern, although there are still 9 rounds to go.
Yeah, he's giving everyone else a head start, isn't he, really? With a couple of weeks just to see if he can try and catch up and make it 6 titles. But no, a very good performance from the 12 car. And the driver that everyone really will be wanting to beat when they see him on the racetrack. He is that driver that has had the target on his back for so long in this series. And when he turns up, it's the driver that everyone wants to beat. No matter if you finish in second and he comes third, beating Mike Grandy is going to be a bit of a chip on your shoulder if you do that.
Absolutely it is. As the time ticks down, we're ready to go pretty much with the grid. As you can see there, 12 drivers on the grid for this one. And it's going to still feel quite busy considering the length of this track. It's Mike Grandy who takes the pole position. It's 38 thousandths ahead of Roger Shank in second place. Craig Butt is third with David Traynor alongside, and Jerry Kern, the 199, ahead of Dave Watson, the first driver to be over a tenth back. JC Hay is seventh ahead of Rick Helms, with Randy Shoemake maybe disappointed with ninth. The points leader, of course, will have some work to do as we get this race underway from alongside Bobby Love. Then it's Russ Addy and Eugene Clark to round out the 12 drivers, all covered by just around 4/10 of a second. It's standard procedure to have those qualifying sessions on your own, but also with only 2 laps available to you. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but actually around here it really does feel like even less of a lot than it normally does, to be honest, because you can basically complete qualifying in one singular minute, and it will feel to these guys, especially for guys like Randy Shoemaker, I'm sure others as well, they'll feel they miss the ball, they miss the mark, a little bit with that qualifying session, because there's so little opportunity to actually get it right.
Yeah, and for some of these guys, it just means that you've got to get it right immediately. There's really no room for error. And it, like you said, is over in the blink of an eye. But it does then enable us to moving into a 100-lap race to really see where, drivers can really pick up the time. Of course, the times are going to be tight, but for the guys at the front, they were able to get out there really early on, get the lap times in, and put themselves near the front. And maybe that'll be a theme as we run our way through this race.
Well, a couple of pace laps because it is so short of a lap. So the pace car will stay on one more time. As you mentioned, 100 laps for us here this evening. We will see pit stops at some point, fixed setups as always, and we'll see just how far we can get into this race before seeing the first yellow flag of the day, if indeed we get one at all. If we don't, then the intrigue of green flag pit stops is going to be very present indeed, and that's going to be an interesting thing to look at as we go forward with this race. It's not an easy pit lane to get into, and not one that you'd practice very often either, so we'll see how that goes as the pace car pulls in. Now we're ready to go racing in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Next 10 Series. Here from North Wilkesboro, the green flag waves, we're underway for 100 laps of racing.
Yeah, Mike Grandy with a good start as well, just to make sure that he carries over that advantage that he got in qualifying. And it looks like Roger Sank is the only one that's coming along with him. Traynor and Vaught fighting behind, and Jerry Kerr's going to be caught up in that as well.
Well, it's side by side for third place, which is the only remaining battle really from the side-by-side start. Everybody electing to take it pretty cautiously. Craig Butt in the 18, just getting run around the outside by David Traynor a little bit there in the 38. You can see Traynor getting to third, but going up the hill a little bit. He'll hang on to it and definitively put himself into third. There's Randy Shoemake in the number 3. He's now starting to make some progress down the inside of Rick Helms, now getting down the inside of Dave Watson here into 3 and 4.
Yeah, good move there from the number 3 car, if he can just make sure of it as we come through turn 2, and it looks like he's got that one sorted on the very low line there, and he's up into P6 already, showing some good pace, gaining a good half a second on the likes of Rick Helms on that one lap alone. So let's see how far he can get up in this first stint.
Absolutely. You can see he's already putting distance into Dave Watson, who got that a little bit wrong off of turn 2 there. Rick Helms got straight down his inside and straight through did Rick Helms, so good job from him. Russ Addy not too far behind either, trying to home in on the back of the 17 now by searching up to the high side a little bit, and there's some interesting lines going on here early on. We often see in these pretty short, flat tracks that it's quite difficult actually to go anywhere other than right up towards the there's a white line here, isn't it? Right up to the grass really, down on the very bottom, but 13 degrees of banking in the turns. It's somewhat surprisingly, allowing these drivers to run a little bit higher up, not quite close to the wall kind of stuff, but it's certainly not the bottom line where everybody's electing to go so far.
You can see Dave Watson in the kind of the second and third lanes there, going a little bit higher than Russ Addy, but Addy on the inside, the 111, easily coasting through on the inside. And you can see it again, Dave Watson here, bit of an up and under through the corner, and it's going to enable him, despite the run off the corner for Russ Addy, to get back in front for P8. So clearly, the lower line looking a little bit better, but he's drifting wide again.
This feels very road racing, doesn't it? There's cutbacks going on all over the place here, and again they're just crisscrossing, almost like a dance move. Oh dear, and it's going to come to an end because Dave Watson just gets it slightly wrong on the power, I'm afraid, and Russ Addy's going to have that 8th place. But that was so weird. You very seldom see so many cutbacks like that on an oval, but as I say, that felt remarkably like a road course, and Dave Watson's going to get embroiled in that again, this time with Bobby Love if he's not careful.
Well, the track's very wide, isn't it, through these corners, all the way through, and with the banking helping them out, it just kind of enables drivers to try a couple of different lines, and the up and under looking like it's working much better with getting the earlier run off the corner with the benefit from the banking. But these guys further back, they're finding it out hard, which is great to see, and they're still not losing out too much time to the likes of Russ Addy, who has not been able to get away ahead of this train in P8, and he's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to get up to the back of Rick Helms and Jerry Kerr, because they're nearly a couple of seconds up the road now.
Randy Shoemake's on the move again. He's just got past Jerry Kerr for 5th place, so that's now 4 gains for the championship leader as Dave Watson gets very close to Bobby Love, trying to work over that move again for 9th position. But yes, Randy Shoemake's up to 5th place. Mike Grandy's still leading. 2.4 seconds is now the margin at the very front of the field, and that is quite large for this early stage in the race. We've only done 11 laps so far, but they've been ticked off very quickly indeed. Mike Grandy's still below the 20-second mark in terms of a lap time round here. It's a very, very short track indeed, as you might have noticed. It's pretty much, by the way, an exactly 1 kilometre. I know we don't really mark things by kilometres in oval racing especially, but it's pretty much exactly 1 kilometre around here, or 0.625 of a mile if you want to be pedantic and use the use those units. Craig Vaught is moving backwards, I'm afraid, falling through the field, down to 6th place now. Randy Shoemake and Jerry Kerr both get through. I apologise if you saw it on screen and I didn't. I was looking at stats about North Wilkesboro, but I can only presume mistake by losing a couple of places so quickly.
Yeah, appeared to be a mistake through turn 1, kind of lost him the time on the run towards turn 2, which allowed Shoemaker and Kerr to come through. But very high again, Dave Watson really running it into the wall there, nearly. Maybe a little bit of a love tap on the wall. It was very difficult to see from the angle that we were at. I was going to quickly mention Randy Shoemaker. He's up to 4th. He's right on the back of David Traynor for 3rd. And he really looks like he's the only driver at the moment on pace who's going to be able to possibly challenge Mike Grandy, because Mike Grandy, you know, he's looking, well, he's putting down the pace at this stage, which would see him get a full lap ahead by the end of this race.
Yeah, it's a remarkable run through the field so far for Randy Shoemaker, although he seems to be in a disagreement with himself about where to run at the moment. And we've got a crash, have we, on the back straight? There was certainly bodywork flying there, and Jerry Kerr is certainly missing some bodywork, so put 2 and 2 together there. Jerry Kerr is missing part of his front bumper, and well, that's going to be a repair of length, I'm afraid, for Jerry Kerr, and he's going to lose laps round here. Even making a normal green flag stop round here is going to cost you time, and you can see just in the top of that shot there, the very top of the shot, Mike Grandy and the other cars going through already to put in 1 lap down. He'll go likely at least 2 laps down with this stop.
Yeah, not looking good for Jerry Kerr, and it looked unfortunate regardless, but there was not enough of that front end of the car for that to be going racing regardless. Shoemaker ahead of David Traynor though, and now he's really been unleashed to try and go after Roger Shank if he can try and gain on the 950 car, who is, you know, ever so slightly dropping back from Mike Grandy, but he's not had much to do in this race, has Roger. He's not been attacked from behind, and with Mike Grandy out in front, he's not really had much to do in that regard either, so Randy Shoemaker might cause him his first trouble of the day.
Well, they do have a collection of fast repairs, by the way, 4 for each driver, so Jerry Kerr just utilising the first of those, but it doesn't make it particularly ideal, does it? I mean, we're not expecting too many pit stops around here. Mike Grandy, for example, is only going about, and most of the drivers actually are only going about half a second slower than their best lap time at the moment, so at best some new tyres would gain you half a second. In 20 laps, that's fairly impressive, but you wouldn't even expect them, I don't think, to be coming in after 33 laps. Surely this is a one-stop job, as long as the fuel can take it, and I'm sure the tyres can take it too.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the pit stops do work out here. I remember back at Vegas not too long ago in last season where we saw, I think it was a 3-stop in comparison to some 2-stops that were being tried. So maybe a little bit could be done on the strategy there. If we were looking for a 3 compared to a 2-stop, we'd be expecting them in the next few laps, of course, with 100 laps splitting up quite nicely. And this is what happened to Jerry Kerr, losing the rear end through 1, it seems.
Keeping it pointing in the right direction, though, and that's why we've stayed green, in case you're not familiar with the way that the iRacing system works. If you are pointing at least some degrees the right way, or indeed below the white line as it is here off the racetrack, then you won't trigger a caution. So it doesn't particularly matter where he is or how much damage there is. It just matters that he wasn't really on the track at all. So that's good news for everybody. We stay green and we continue to enjoy the battle, especially for 9th place here. This could change though, because Mike Grandy is now homing in on the back of these guys, and when there's somebody lapping a battle like this, it makes it all very awkward for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to start to get really interesting, I think, in 50 laps time, where we're seeing cars on all different sorts of laps trying to lap, overtake, and it all going off, especially when we've got already these 3 battling away with Dave Watson, JC Hay and Eugene Clark trying to pick up the pieces in behind. But these guys realistically are the lowest 3 running on track, but they're still fighting it out, which is great to see, because every point really will count at the start of the season. Eugene Clark nearly going to the back of JC Hay though, so got to be a little bit careful there. But the 73 getting through nicely, but Hay going to the inside pretty early into turn 1.
Yeah, almost as if to allow the other 2 right round the outside there and let them through. Well, Mike Grandy's now going to go through as well, and JC Hay's going to make that easy. But just look at the grip that Grandy has got. Totally comfortable with that car now, racing out to a near 5-second lead ahead of Randy Shoemake, who I do believe would be able to challenge Mike Grandy, but it shows the importance of qualifying. You've got to be up there to be with the leaders when they go, and Randy Shoemake, the only driver who I believe could have stuck with Mike Grandy here, wasn't there when Grandy went, which was right from the very start, and so he's now given effectively Grandy a 5-second head start, and he's given himself only 2/3 of the race to catch him.
Yeah, but let's see if he can do it. I mean, you wouldn't really want to put it past him. He's had some good pace. He was 5 seconds behind Mike Grandy at one point, so he's been gaining a little bit of time over the past few laps. And let's see what he can do to try and make a dent in that Mike Grandy lead. Maybe try something on the strategy, or just maybe try and go monotone, or just the same as what Grandy's doing, just to try and beat him on the pure pace. Clark, Watson, and Hay, they are not giving this up though, are they? In their battle for P9, Dave Watson, he's looked a bit loose all day, hasn't he, in that 17 car, again through turn 2, getting high and losing some of that momentum off the corner, allowing JC Hay maybe to have a sniff into turn 1. So it's been interesting to see what lines JC Hay's been taking, because they've been different to everybody else's. It's
been very tricky for everybody so far as we make our way into 3 and 4 again with these 2. And JC Hay find a way through somehow, some way here for 10th position. That's a decent run, but you do have to make some dives, have some bravery sometimes, and it's maybe a move you're not willing to make in the first third of the race. But Dave Watson goes straight up the hill again and is really struggling in certain corners with this car. Runs very high this time round. Seems to do a bit better when he enters a bit higher. Feels a little bit like on the very bottom you haven't got quite the angle of the banking to quite utilise that you have at the top, and it's creating some rather strange dynamics, but it is quite a flat track anyway, and that's making it quite difficult clearly for both of these 2. Seem to be letting these cars get away from them from time to time. Watson going a little bit high that time round too. JC Hay staying a bit lower, and just in the background Randy Shoemake's in the pit lane, so we do have a 2-stopper. Will it be only him, or will there be more? But he might have realised, well, I'm not going to catch Mike Grandy normally, might as well try and do something different and throw off the strategy.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this one works out. We'll have to see if anybody else actually comes in relatively soon, or whether really this is a 2-stop compared to everyone else doing a 1-stop. Shoemaker, of course, will come out a lap down in 9th, with it being such a short lap. You really do fall away when you're in the pit lane. But let's see how this works out for the number 3 car, because it'll be interesting just to see if anybody tries to follow him. Watson and Hay have come in, but none of the real front runners, or whether the Mike Grandy, Shank, Trainer and the rest at the front are going to just be doing that one-stop strategy. Shank, Trainer and Vaught go through, not looking keen on that 2-stop. So, well, despite Rick Helms going in, I was going to say that the one-stop that could work out for them means that at least Shoemake's going aggressive, just trying to make something happen.
I'm a little bit surprised, I've got to say, as David Trainer comes in as well. If I was Mike Grandy, to be honest, I wouldn't react to this. I'd stay out and stick to a one-stop, actually. As long as, I must preface, as long as they can make it on few. I'm pretty confident they would do, but it's such a big lead that Grandy's got now. Look at the amount of time that the others will have to make up, and that's the added danger you've got as well. David Trainer just having to reverse into the box. That's one of the things that I really find annoying about these NASCARs, Darragh, whenever I'm driving an oval race. Braking in time for your pit box is probably the most difficult thing. Certainly more difficult than going around the circuit, I find.
Yeah, for me, there's no racing line, as I'm sure others would point out, for me to be aided into that pit box. No, well, I used to, but Zach Sweeney and Lewis McGlade take every opportunity. Oh, I was young. We were all young once, eh? But no, yeah, difficult to get it in, and it can cost you so much time, can't it? Whether you go a little bit too far forward, or you're just trying to find exactly where to stop on your marks, you can pick up and lose quite a bit of time in the pit lane.
I was young. Very good. Mike Grandy coming into the pit lane, and he is reacting. So okay, it's a bit of a strange time to pit, but that's only because I like things to be really evenly divided up during a race, especially when it's 100. It's a round number, you can make it work. But anyway, he pits on lap 40 because he clearly doesn't go by my dividing up thinking. Let's see how much time he's lost though, because there were a few laps for Randy Shoemake there to make up some time. In fact, 7 of them before Mike Grandy reacted, and this is why I wouldn't have done it at all. Here goes Grandy out the pit lane now, but we really do have a race on. Randy Shoemake is within a second of Mike Grandy. He's within a second of the lead, and all of a sudden that huge advantage for the driver in the number 12 and the champion of the last 5 NASCAR series in the 60+ racing adventures. All of a sudden, that advantage has been swallowed up completely by Randy Shoemake and his strategy.
Well, yeah, I do believe that Shoemake came in, lap 33, so clearly trying to split them up nice and evenly, but lap 40 was when Mike Grandy came in, so, you know, you don't really know whether that's going to be able to get yourself 60 laps or whether Mike Grandy will want to go 60 laps on that stint. I think it's pretty clear that Randy Shoemake is committing to a 2-stop based off his first pit lap, but Mike Grandy, bit in the middle really, isn't he, in terms of the strategy, and could it allow Shoemake to have a chance here, because he's close enough that he's going to be on Mike Grandy's mind, he's going to be in his wing mirrors, and Grandy's going to have to do something soon about it.
Look at the traffic as well for Mike Grandy. That's 4 in a row just up ahead of him, and they're not all battling with one another. In fact, only 2 of them are. Rick Helms and David Trainer are in there, but there's 2 others who are not, and never mind not fighting with them, they're not fighting with each other either. So this is a real mess for Mike Grandy to try and work his way through, and I don't know how he's going to do this. 4 of them, mostly side by side, right up ahead of him. David Trainer pulls out wide and lets him through. I think that is. It is indeed in the 17th. Excuse me, that's Dave Watson. They've not quite got past David Trainer just yet. 3 wide on the inside for Mike Grandy now. Oh, he's got to be careful not to get in the rear quarter panel of whoever that was on the inside, and there's been a total distraction as the leaders were coming through. A big lock up there from one of the drivers on the inside, and the contact as well. Thankfully, they're all still pointing the right direction. Not entirely sure how, but they've made their way through. Grandy has navigated that, and so has Randy Shoemake. We're still all pointing the right way, and we're still all going, but that was a heads-up moment for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, Grandy nearly overtook 3 of them through turn 2 on the inside line, but didn't quite get the run off the call out as you'd expect. Shoemake just was able to pick up the pieces and has followed Grandy through, and is really going to keep him honest. There's no one in front of them for at least a few laps that they're going to have to worry about. So it's going to be a straight fight. But I think it's fair to say for any non-Brit watching along, that is what the London motorway, the orbital motorway, looks like 24 hours a day. I mean, there was absolute chaos there. What was that, 5 cars trying to go 4 wide there?
I've never been on it, so I can't comment really. Meanwhile, David Traynor gets himself through on Rick Helms, finally does make that move. I think he was the one actually that locked up in towards turn 1. Jerry Kerr, meanwhile, has recovered well, hasn't he? Look at this, he's was in 3rd place. Roger Shank has now got up ahead, but that's what an early pit stop will do for you, I suppose. I think Jerry Kerr might well split the latter part of this race, i.e. the part after his crash, in 2, so we might well see him in just around lap 60, unless there's a caution before then, but he's done very well to recover from this. As I mentioned, saved by the faster pair slightly, but he's still got to put the work in afterwards to come back from a lap down to not only back on the lead lap, but in 3rd as spin, and surely now there's going to be a problem for Bobby Love. We're still green. And now we go caution, finally. So you just saw him. Oh dear, and that was close. Who was that? Very nearly hitting him on the way through. Was that Roger Shank? As we just saw him pass Jerry Kerr. It was indeed. And I'm not sure whether Shank actually hit the wall there. Bobby Love certainly has. He's blown his engine.
Yeah, Roger Shank coming through at high speed there. I wasn't expecting anybody to go past that incident at full pelt, but regardless, we're under caution now, so everyone's going to have to slow down. But my word, that was a nearly a massive collision. Roger Shank really lucky to get away with only a spin, because that could have been much, much worse for him in the 950.
And a difference between Mike Grandy and Randy Shoemake. Despite the fact he was first in, Randy Shoemake deciding to come in again now, maybe for the final time today. The 5 lead lap drivers will have the chance first time round, of course, and Jerry Kerr will join him. That's no surprise, really. He's on the oldest tyres of anybody. What about Roger Shank? No, so he didn't hit the wall, clearly, and feels his tyres are good to go as well. And Craig Vaught goes through too, but a difference in strategy between the two at the front. That is very interesting.
Yeah, you'd think Shoemake can go to the end now. I don't think he'll need to pit again, or he at least won't think so. I mean, we saw Mike Grandy go 40. Oh, hello. Mike Grandy's coming in, but he's going to lose the lead, surely, isn't he? Yeah. Because of the Shoemake in the train.
He will. He will drop to 6th place. This is a disastrous... Well, not 6th, because Craig Vaught is also doing it, but Mike Grandy has made a bit of an error here. He realises his error, and he's going to correct it, but it's not a full correction, because he can't go back to the lead again. He is going to allow a lot more drivers back on the lead lap here, by the way. We'll get to that in a few moments' time. But he's going to be 4th, is Mike Grandy, because Craig Vaught and Rick Helms are doing the same. Not Craig Vaught for the same reason. Rick Helms took the lucky dog, so he sort of had to pit second time round, otherwise he'd lose his lap straight away again, and so he will get back to 6th place maybe, but he at least has pitted at the time you'd expect him to, as Mike Grandy pulls back through on some of the lap cars and will start to have to correct his error now. He'll start directly behind Randy Shoemake on the outside, but why oh why did he not pit first time round?
Yeah, you've got to call into question what the strategy was there for Mike Grandy. Was he looking at the lap counter thinking he doesn't know whether he can, saw Randy Shoemake come in and then make the decision based off that? Regardless, Shoemake now has the upper hand. After starting in P8, he worked his way through, and in the end, he hasn't had to make the move on the track for P1 because he's been gifted it by Mike Grandy's pit strategy, and now it's Grandy with all the work to do. Otherwise, Randy Shoemake might be the one to try and run away with this win.
Let's see. He's not going to have clear run at it, of course. Roger Shank is in the lead, but he didn't come in there, rather puzzlingly. So he's only got 18 laps on those tyres, but even so, I would have been in there, personally. But there you go. I'm up here, not down there. So there you go. But some of the drivers will have got the wave by now. Eugene Clark and JC Hay. This is what happened to Bobby Love. It's a very fast-paced caution, by the way. That's why we're rattling through all these things. This is what happened to Bobby Love. Just looked like he dropped it on his own here, really off a foot.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there was anybody else really involved in that one, but unfortunately, we're about to get going green once again.
We are indeed. 44 laps remaining, and Randy Shoemake, despite not starting from the lead, has taken it straight away, and even by the line. Now, if this was the start of the race, that would be a certain problem, but I don't think, because it's a restart, I don't think that's a huge issue for Randy Shoemake. It's certainly an issue here for Roger Shank, the fact that he's got no tyres on at the moment, no new tyres anyway, because he's been swallowed up immediately by Shoemake and Grandy, and surely he's going to have the same fate for the others on the lead lap, at the very least, the others in the top 6, all of whom came into the pit lane, don't forget. But it's Randy Shoemake leading Mike Grandy. The two fastest drivers in this field are coming to battle again with 42 laps remaining in the race.
Yeah, Shoemake doesn't look too comfortable, does he? Mike Grandy is all over the back of him as they work their way off of this restart. Shank still in P3, but Jerry Kerr and Craig Vaught will be coming through in the not-too-distant future, you'd think. But all the while they're stuck behind Shank, it's allowing Shoemake and Grandy just to build that margin and pull away at the front to make it a two-horse race, as we have, 42 to go now. Those laps are going to tick down quickly if you're not in the lead, or if not in the lead battle at least. So for Shoemake and Grandy, this is basically going to be the race to the end between each other.
Yeah, 40 already. They really do tick them off very quickly indeed. But it's been a fascinating race so far. Lots of strategy to talk of. I think most of that's going to be thrown out the window now. It's just who is quickest out of these two, especially for the win. Now, Grandy, you can see just entering a little bit higher than Shoemake, who doesn't really want to get dived down the inside, almost in road racing style again, covering the inside. And Grandy trying to find his way around the outside in oval racing style. It's a very odd way this circuit races sometimes. Oh, that was close. Grandy, I think, wanted to straighten up the car and go out of turn 2. Couldn't do it. Randy Shoemake was in the way.
Yeah, Shoemake doing a good job, really. If nothing else, throwing a defensive block, really. You were talking about how he goes a little bit shallower into the corners than Grandy, takes a bit of a higher line, and it's not allowing Grandy to get the release off of the corner that he's looking for. So it may not be Shoemake's natural line necessarily, but it means that Grandy isn't able to really try and use his own line to his own advantage, and he's going to have to think of something new here, because Shoemake is just really doing a bit of a low block at this stage.
Well, these two have won each of the last 17 NASCAR series in the 60-plus racing adventures. Not all in this car, but the point still stands. They have been the two to watch in this series for years and years now. And they're going into battle here at North Wilkesboro, heading into the final third of the race. This is about the time where you would have expected to see the pit stops. We might well get some more, because there's another caution. We'll let you know who that is for in a few moments' time. It's not these two, but the battle is set now. The matchup is certainly between these two. 35 to go, and the question as to whether they'll pit or not is a lot more questionable this time round.
Roger Shank hasn't come into the pit lane, though. I would have thought he would have dived in straight away, but he... of course he can't, thank you.
This time.
Let's see if he does this time, yeah. Shoemake and Grandy, and then Shank. Will any of them come in? I wouldn't have thought that the top two... Well, what do I know?
Wow.
Grandy.
I'm surprised.
Thinking about it, and then changed his mind when he saw Shoemake coming in.
I am surprised. I wonder whether Shoemake reacted to Grandy, and now he's just stuck with it. He won't even be second, Shoemake, here. And I personally don't believe that the tyres will make that much of a difference, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, as most of those on the lead lap come in. 6 out of the 8 on the lead lap come in. David Traynor will have the chance, not this time, but next time, or whenever he likes, really. Bobby Love, I'm afraid, the cause of this caution in a pretty similar incident to last time, actually, and was clipped on the way past by someone too. That's done a bit more damage, and Bobby Love is out of the race.
Bit of deja vu there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Really, almost a copycat of the incident before. We're seeing a couple more pit stops. Russ Addy in the 111 coming into pit lane. Randy Shoemaker's come out in P4 though. A slightly longer pit stop than Jerry Kerr, who has been in at the same time. So Jerry Kerr is, the theoretical lead driver of those who have pitted, but Grandy and Vaught staying out. We'll have to see if this works for them, and like you said, it'll be interesting to see whether the new tyres are going to make that much more of a difference with about a third of the race still to run.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd make that much difference. Grandy's only got 12, 13 laps on them, and that's green flag laps. It might only be about 10 green flag laps. So, yeah, very interesting indeed. A rather late pit stop from Dave Watson here, who I think was hoping to get the wave around, but with Grandy and Vaught staying out, they will not get waved by. None of them will. Now, does the two cars in between Mike Grandy and Randy Shoemake make a difference here? Because the difference, as I said earlier, might not be large between the two tyres, but the difference is Shoemaker's got 2 cars to overtake even before he gets a go at the race lead.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can make these moves. He made the moves early on off of the race start, and he made the move for the lead off of the restart as well pretty early on. So we're going to have to see if he can replicate that feat again for the third time. But Jerry Kerr and Craig Vaught are not going to be, letting up too easily. But Roger Shank, I think he's kind of lucked down in the position that he's in, up into P5 now after the pit stop with the spin that he had just here during the first caution. He looks like he might be one to watch in this restart as well.
Let's see as they form up 2 by 2 now. There are 9 drivers on the lead lap now, with only 2 others in the race, and they're both 2 laps down. Going to take quite a miracle for Rossetti and Dave Watson even to get back onto the lead lap. It's more likely going to be about Mike Grandy and whether the race leader on a restart can hold the lead for the first time. Previously, Roger Shank got demolished on the last restart. Let's see what happens this time round. A much better restart for Mike Grandy. Can Randy Shoemake find the space here? Can he find it quickly as he tries to chase down the number 12? Craig Vaught on the same tyres, of course, as Mike Grandy, having not stopped during that cycle, is staying with him very well indeed. And Jerry Kerr, having taken a much shorter pit stop than Randy Shoemake, ahead of him also. Down into turn 1 and 2 they go again. The number 3 car finding this tricky, and with every moment the seconds get put into him, Mike Grandy gets further and further away.
Yeah, Shoemaker there looks like he'll have this one done now on the 199 of Jerry Kerr as they work their way across the start-finish line once again. And yes, up into P3 now for Randy Shoemaker. He's got to try and catch Craig Vaught as quickly as he possibly can. Still adopting those tighter lines through, at least the first part of the corner, not letting the car drift out too far wide on the entry. And it's serving him well at the moment. You can see that time coming down on the entry to the corner from 1.3 to 1.1 seconds. But there's another caution. It might be JC Hay.
It might well be. He certainly dropped a place. Was it Rossetti? He's dropped a place also. We're just guessing based on who's losing places, to be honest with you, other than no other facts than that, I'm afraid to say. As expected, maybe, the second half of the race, the tensions are up, the stakes are higher, and the cautions are coming thicker and faster.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can go green to the end from this time around. It'll also be interesting to see who pits, and that will be Craig Vaught in. And with Mike Grandy not coming in, at least just yet, it now means that Randy Shoemake has no one between himself and Grandy on fresher tyres to try and take the lead and the win in this race in the final quarter.
As we see the reason. Clip on the wall, was that Rossetti? Not sure, and awkward. Somebody having to skip past him. Not sure who that was, but that's a pretty awkward moment for whoever got caught up on the outside there. Really, a place you do not want to be. The only place you don't want to be there, I'm afraid. Dave Watson gets the wave by. Almost as a result, the two of them were fighting for the lucky dog there, and see if one of them spins out, then you can guess the rest. Dave Watson now 1 lap down. And Rossetti will come in to probably take a fast repair there, just in case. Probably worth mentioning, because I don't think I have so far, most of those who came in on that previous caution, and indeed this one, have only taken 2 tyres. So Randy Shoemake just only took 2 tyres. Jerry Kerr only spent 4.7 seconds in the box. It doesn't even feel like it's long enough for 2 tyres, but anyway. Roger Shank also just took 2 tyres last time he was in. Rick Helms had 4, and he did make some progress last time round. He's now 5th. Eugene Clark also only took 2 tyres. JC Hare was in the box for 3.3 seconds, which is barely long enough to stop this NASCAR and get it going again. Then David Traynor, who also just took 2 tyres. Craig Vaught just took 4 under that previous caution. I don't know about this 2 tyre call. It kind of feels like if you're coming in, you might as well stay there for the whole time rather than half-hearting it and not making much of a difference, because it doesn't feel like it didn't feel to me watching Shoemake there as if he had newer tyres than the rest.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say, really. And you wouldn't have thought they'd need topping up on fuel with them expecting to go to the end from that first caution about halfway through the race. So, yeah, interesting to see the differences in the pit stop time. But we're going to have to see if Shoemake can make any difference here on Grandy, because you think that of everybody in this field, Grandy's going to be... You know, he's going to have the slowest car in terms of what he's got underneath him. He might be able to do more with it. But the guys behind him are going to be thinking about that and thinking that they definitely have a chance to make their way through in this race with only 22 to go.
Yeah, it will only be 22 to go at the line, which is very interesting. Now, will we go green from here until the end is the big question as well. It's got a little bit more caution fraught, I'm afraid, in this final half of the race after a very good start, but still enjoying a great battle between Mike Grandy and Randy Shoemake, the two favourites for this race, really. But, you know, there's some guys on 4 tyres a bit further back who could still play a factor in the remainder of this race. 22 to go at North Wilkesboro as round 4 of the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Next Gen Series continues here on RaceSpotTV, and it is Mike Grandy on the low side who retains the lead. Shoemake who goes a little bit wide there, but it will at least hold on to second.
Yeah, had a great restart again, Shoemake. Looked to judge it absolutely perfectly on Mike Grandy, but wasn't able to make that move through the opening corner. Let's see if he can stay close, though, to the back of the number 12 car, as the laps will tick down very, very quickly at this stage, with only, 21 tours of the circuit to go. That'll be going through in about 7 minutes or so. Rick Helms, though, the 75 car, that's surely another caution, and it is.
Wow.
As Shoemake goes through, is he?
Was he ahead by the time the caution was thrown? The two remain side by side and Mike Grandy goes back through. Now, that's going to be impossible to work out who was it, because they were pretty much dead level there as the caution came out. The iRacing system will know, I presume, but it's Mike Grandy who is given the lead. Now, I was really fancying Rick Helms for a bit of a run to the front of the field, actually, but maybe got a bit overexcited. Loose off of 2, corrects, but overcorrects and smashes straight into... who's that then? In the white and red. Couldn't quite catch the number as it was spinning around again and again, but Eugene Clark is in, so maybe we should connect the dots there with the number 73. No pit stops for those on the lead lap. It was indeed. It was Eugene Clark, yeah. So we'll connect the dots there, but I'm afraid to say another caution and an unlucky moment really for Rick Helms, who was looking good at the end there.
Yeah, and it goes really back to the old adage that cautions breed cautions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We were green all the way through the first half of this race, and we've had 4 in the last 30 laps. So, you know, the race that was panning out to be quite interesting on the strategy battle, particularly between Grandy and Shoemake, has now really just become a case of A, survival, and B, do I pit, do I not pit? And then using what you've got underneath you as the laps tick by. So, Shoemake, though, he'll have known there that he could have made that move if he had been given a little bit more time before the yellow. So that should surely give him a little bit of confidence going into this restart.
Well, very interesting indeed. I think the problem for everybody now, other than Mike Grandy, is the confidence that we're going to have a long enough green flag run for you to make the move that you're trying to make here. Because we just saw there, Shoemake wasn't really able to get anywhere. And just as he was starting to get somewhere, starting to get alongside Mike Grandy, the caution was flying. So I think there'll be a lot of people hoping, above anything else, that there is a long enough green flag run here to make a move, and that this race isn't further interrupted by yellows, because otherwise it's going to be, I mean, you can't make a move right now, for example. You know, you need a green flag run.
Yeah, exactly. You know, with the lap being so short, each caution you're looking at 3-4 laps being eaten off of that of that counter. So when they cross the line again, there'll be 16 to go, and Shoemake's going to need, you know, as many of those green as possible to try and make this overtake. Yeah,
I don't think he's going to be going this time, is it? No, the light's still on. So 10 cars on the lead lap now. That shows how many cautions we've had in the last few moments, more than anything, because Dave Watson needed 2 cautions with him, the first car, 1 lap down. And excuse me, not Dave Watson. Well, maybe it was, can't remember. But yeah, those guys who were 2 laps down needed 2 cautions with them in the right position, and that's exactly what they've got to get back onto the lead lap. Could be quite a chaotic restart here.
Yeah, we'll have to see if there's too much collision, because I think a few of these guys will realise that there's chances that they didn't have about 5-10 minutes to go, so they might try and use that to their advantage and really try and push home a possible advantage that they have. But Grandy and Shoemake, they're going to be really grandstand fighting at the front.
Pace car pulls in, and it's just 15 to go as we try and find a winner at North Wilkesboro. Side by side for the lead between Mike Grandy and Randy Shoemake, who is trying the high side again and will be hoping that this time his move can stick and that he can make his way through, just as he was starting to do under the last green flag run.
Yeah, Shoemaker's really applying the pressure. They've got past, they've got a big gap back to Jerry Kerr and Roger Shank again. They shouldn't be too worried about the guys behind. Craig Vaught looking for moves as well on the back of the number 950. But Randy Shoemaker needs to try and apply as much pressure as he can to make this move on Mike Grandy. But Mike Grandy, of course, the 5-time champion, he knows exactly how to win races from this position. And you'd be hard-pressed to bet against him, especially with more laps under caution.
Rick Helms this time. I say this time, it's one of the previous times as well. Needed a fast repair a little bit of time ago. We might have to use a third fast repair now out of 4. As we are getting to the stage now where this next one could be the last green flag run. Now, I didn't think to figure out what was going to happen if we were still under caution at the fall of the 100 laps. Are they going to afford us a few more laps to give this a go under a green-white checker or something? I'm not entirely sure, but we're getting to that stage now. We're getting to the stage where one more caution and that might be it. This is the contact. Rick Helms shoved around by that same blue machine again there. Is that Dave Watson maybe? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I'm afraid to say it's Rick Helms spun around on that occasion. And another caution. We'll have well less than 10 to go when we go back green.
Yeah, it's kind of all gone from bad to worse for Rick Helms, isn't it? You were mentioning him to possibly put on a bit of a charge to at least get into the top 3 in this race, and it's all gone downhill since then, I think it's fair to say. But JC as well, not having the best of times in the 89 car. But like you said, at the end of this lap, there'll be 10 to go. But then, you know, there still might be a couple of laps under caution. If we go 2 or 3 more laps green, then it would be hard pressed to get it started with any more than 2 laps left. So this is looking even better for Mike Grandy with every passing minute, and Randy Shoemaker is going to be absolutely hating going around at this speed and seeing the laps tick down.
Apologies to Dave Watson, it wasn't him that spun around Rick Helms, it was JC Hayes, so apologies there. But yeah, 10 to go as we go round the lap this time round. Because there's nobody really pitting, it feels like these cautions do take a lot longer than they did earlier when there was all sorts of stuff happening all the time, because we've still got one more after this one, for example. So there you go. As I say here, Darrett, we could be getting to the stage now where a caution will end the race here, and we'll get to lap 100 under a caution. If there's another one, you tick through quite a few laps on a short circuit like this one under a caution like this. There's going to be only 8 to go at the conclusion of this one, and as I said before, and I'll say it again, Randy Shoemaker needs those 8 laps to try and work over a move, because realistically it's only a few minutes that.
Yeah, at full green flag racing, that's less than 3 minutes, 8 laps around here. Of course, each lap, or 3 laps, taking give or take 57, 58 seconds. So Randy Shoemaker's going to have to make it, and he's going to have to make it quickly. If he wants to be bold, he's going to have to be. He can't try what he's tried off the other couple of cautions and being a little bit more cautious on the restart, because he has to make this move quickly. He has to try and force Mike Grandy into a mistake, and he's only got, what you'd really say, just over 2 minutes worth of racing action to do so.
Absolutely. 8 to go at North Wilkesboro. Can we find a winner? And can anybody unseat Mike Grandy, the winner of the last 5 60-plus racing at Baxter's Next Gen Series Championships? On the front again here. Randy Shoemaker on the outside through 1 and 2. This is probably his best go on a restart. Can he stay alongside? I think the answer to that is going to be no. He's going to have to work over a move in some other fashion. Although maybe this way. Round the outside through 3 and 4. Again, struggling to make it work.
Oh, and there's a bit of an issue for Craig Ford as well. I don't know if he's gone into the wall, and he has gone into the pit wall, and that's going to be a caution. We're on 94 of 100. Are we going to see this race end under caution, or could we get maybe 1 or 2 at the end?
I think it's going to be close. Mike Grandy may well feel this race is won, but I think we will get 1 lap under green if my calculations are correct. We'll see, though. We will see. It's Mike Grandy still leading. Craig Vaught now drops to 10th. And I'm afraid to say it looked like it was all on his own. Like a classic case of just dropping it off of turn 4, and we've seen a lot more of that recently. Just because everyone's pushing towards the end of the race. He's just a bit lower than normal than when he's trying to get on the power there. And the angles with the banking and the steering input that he's putting in is not what he's used to. And I'm afraid he has gone into the wall, and that is an interesting pit exit. You don't often see that. Coming straight out into second place. I don't really know if that's even legal, but I'm afraid to say he is a lap down, and he will likely finish 10th, if not lower, with Rosati now getting the wave around, or the lucky dog I should say, and getting onto the same lap as him. But that's a real shame from a top 5 running car to now off the lead lap.
Yeah, let's hope that Craig Vaught doesn't stay there where he currently is, between Grandy and Shoemake. I don't think Shoemake would be too pleased if he does. I think it's fair to say.
He shouldn't do. He will get removed from that position. So, 3 to go as we get to the line here. You'd imagine that Craig Vaught will be sorted out with maybe 2 to go and put to the back, along with all the other lap cars, of which there is only one other in this race. And then on that next lap they'll be going side by side. So I still maintain I think we are going to see see one green flag lap, and he pulls into the pit lane anyway, Craig Vaught, so it doesn't especially matter. Do the lights go off this time? Nope. Are we staying on? At least one more. Will those safety car lights be staying on for the remainder of this race, or will we see one green flag lap? Even if there is one green flag lap, to be honest, I think Mike Grandy's in a very strong position.
Yeah, we haven't seen Randy Shoemake being able to really make a move at all on the restarts. He's had a couple of good goes around the outside, but Grandy's just been able to control that inside line and not really have too much of an issue in defending that. We're starting to see Shoemake come side by side. We'll see if the lights go out after we cross the line with 2 to go now. It looks like we may get one lap of green flag racing, and it looks like that we will.
We're getting a green light checker.
Exactly. Absolutely fantastic.
Very nice. Very good. So, a couple of laps to sort this one out then. 101 laps, slightly odd number looking at the top there, isn't it? But it's 2 to go, and it is Mike Grandy with just about 1.5 miles to hang on here. Just a bit less than that. He's got Randy Shoemake alongside, Roger Shank and Jerry Kerr just in behind. Are they going to be a factor in this? It would be a surprise if anybody from outside the front row wins this one from here. Mike Grandy gets on the power out of 4, and we're back underway one final time at North Wilkesboro, and Randy Shoemake will be as aggressive as he's been all race. Up high at the moment, but Grandy clears immediately, and now he'll be heading for the white flag with an advantage over the rest of the field. Shoemake goes a little bit higher again, challenged by Jerry Kerr as the fight for third rages on, and a 3-wide battle for 5th goes on as well. The white flag will be thrown, and so the next flag will end the race, and Shoemaker's got 2 more corners to find a way through. He's defending his Mike Grandy to the inside through 3 and 4 for the final time. Shoemake tries to go right round the outside, but Mike Grandy is going to win at North Wilkesboro, and it's Randy Shoemake who ends up in the wall. Does he even make second place? I think he just about did, but it's all behind Mike Grandy, the winner of the last 5 championships, a winner here at round 4, and his slow start to the season in terms of championship points will certainly start to pick up now as he wins here at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, and hard pressed to say that it wasn't well deserved for Mike Grandy. Of course, getting pole position at the start of the day, controlling the first half of the race, and really playing the strategy battle well with the cautions in the second half of the race. The 12th car, he was under pressure on the restarts for a couple of laps, but then when the cautions came back out, was able to rest on his laurels once again. But Mike Grandy, what a champion in this series, wins again.
Fantastic. A great end to the race. Eventually a couple of laps for us to enjoy, and after 101 laps, Mike Grandy's the winner. Half a second the gap at the end. Randy Shoemake threw everything at it, including himself into the wall. Jerry Kerr couldn't quite get through, even as a result of that. Roger Shank and Eugene Clark round out the top 5. Rick Helms finished in 6th place with a bit further of a gap back to JC Hay and David Traynor. Rusadi finished 1 lap down in 9th, with Dave Watson also 1 lap down in 10th. Craig Vaught finishing a couple of laps down there in the end, with Bobby Love retiring quite a ways from the finish. Well, What a fantastic race that was, and a great end as well. Mike Grandy has now come to join us for an interview after the race. Welcome in, Mike. Good to have you with us. That second half of the race was certainly heavy with cautions, and you were at the start at the front for most of those restarts. How did you sort of maintain your composure and continue to knock out that same rhythm of restarting from the front and retaining the lead again and again?
Very careful on the throttle, I would say. It was a touchy last few laps. Randy's a great racer, and there was a good chance he was going to get me.
Well, you didn't quite manage it. What was the key to staying ahead, and not only in all those restarts, of course, but generally racing with one another? Because you did get alongside you fairly often, but never through.
Yeah, I think as long as you hold the bottom, you're probably pretty good there. A lot of guys diamond it. I don't. I stay right on the bottom.
And this is a very unique circuit as far as, over racing goes, but also this schedule especially. There's nothing really like this coming up again. In fact, not very many short tracks either, right until we get to the end of the season. How are you feeling about the rest of the season now after this win?
Well, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break this season. I've already missed a couple races. I'm probably going to miss a few more, so I'll pick and choose and, race when I feel like it, and when something else is a little more important, we'll go and do that.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there when we can. Mike, thanks very much for coming to chat to us, and congratulations on the win tonight.
Thanks, appreciate it. You have a good one.
Thanks very much, Mike Grandy there, the winner tonight at North Wilkesboro. Just ahead of Randy Shoemaker. I'm going to be slightly rude and just pull from the lobby, so sorry about that. But welcome in, Randy. Good to have you with us here this evening as well. How was that race for you there at the end? I mean, you've got to be a little bit frustrated that you didn't get a longer green flag run to really give Mike a run for his money for that win.
Mike had just stretched it out. It wouldn't have been as close as it had been if there had been a longer run, but it was enjoyable.
It was enjoyable to watch as well, especially because you are having to make a lot of progress through the field. Just tell us a little bit about what happened in qualifying and then at the actual start of the race where you were making up loads of positions early on.
Well, thank you. I got fortunate in the practice race right before we started to get on the pole and qualified. It just seemed a lot of people thought that this surface at the race here was slicker, 120-degree track temperature, and I slid as I came off turn 4 on my first lap in the qualifying, and so it ruined that lap. It slowed me down considerably starting my second lap, so I started back there, but everybody was gentlemanly as we worked our way through the field, and fortunate to get back up to second and happy to be on the podium.
Absolutely, it's a great result, and in the context of the season as well, there won't be anything, as I just said to Mike, there won't be anything quite like this again in terms of circuit, and you'll retain the points lead as well, even as a result of finishing second here. How are you feeling about the rest of the season now, with 8 rounds now ahead of us?
I'm looking forward to it. Mike had said that he wasn't going to be able to possibly make all the races, and Mike's had a long string of championships, I think, but together I think we have 17 in a row, but I think he has the last 9, so I don't kid myself who's the best right now, but he's got other things coming up, and so I want to make my best effort to try and keep that string going between him and I, and let him get back where he's running every week and back where he belongs on top.
You have indeed got the last 17 between you. It was a great battle to watch you two go at it actually on the circuit together this time around. Randy, thanks for coming to have a chat with us after the race, and congratulations on second place tonight.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the broadcast. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks very much, Randy Shoemaker there, second place here tonight in North Wilkesboro. Well, Dara, that's just about it for us here tonight. It is an odd circuit, isn't it? It's not very round in terms of the miles it is around. It's very flat, but also races a bit like a road course sometimes. And as we've mentioned time and again, we won't be at a circuit shorter than this one, or indeed as short as this one, right until the end of August in Bristol. But it was a fun evening of racing, and the circus now rumbles on to Homestead, Miami. We're still 8 rounds to go.
Yeah, the first half of the race particularly was great to see being completely run under green flag racing. The strategy battle was looking quite interesting, but that does lend itself to maybe some good racing as we get towards Homestead and then towards the super speedways at Indianapolis. So, a good race and sets it up nicely in the championship. Maybe Grandy can come back again from the depths after giving everyone else that head start, but he's still got a long way to go and still going to get some wins on the board before he can think about that championship.
Yeah, and he says that he'll be missing a few more rounds from here on in as well, so it may well be open to others to try and win. Maybe they can break Shoemaker and Grandy's stranglehold on this championship for the last 17 seasons. We'll see if that could possibly take place. Well, a big thanks to everyone for tuning in again to the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Next Gen series here on RaceSpotTV. It's been a pleasure to be here once more for round 4. Still 8 rounds ahead of us, of course, starting next week at Homestead Miami Speedway, so I hope that you'll enjoy that race as well. But for now, that's us signing off for the evening. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Tara Thacker. Hugo Louise has been behind the cameras this evening. And until we see you next time for more 60 Plus Racing Adventures action, it's goodbye for now.